We have a very important update for patch 15.5 because they've confirmed that there's not going to be a B patch. So what that means is we have to focus on a couple of comps right now, because right now Jinx is bugged and mana builds are really strong on her. That means we are going to be playing Star Guardian a lot this patch. So go Star Guardian, contest Star Guardian if you have to, if someone else is already going for it, because Poppy 1, Jinx 1, it's good enough to stabilize a lot of different boards out there. But apart from that, you could play Mighty Mech. Mighty Mech's still pretty good, and then Tiny Team, also a very good augment to play around with if you ever do get it. In the A tier, we have Battle Academia Yuumi, Kayle, Soul Fighter, Fast 9 Varus, the Crew, and then Bastion Xayah Reroll. So if you haven't noticed yet, normally in the S and A tiers, we have like 3 rows of comps. This time we only have 2, so it's going to be a lot tighter of a patch. So pretty much what's going on right now is that 1 to 2 people go Star Guardian every single game. There's definitely 1 Mighty Mech player. Tiny Team's a special augment, so that doesn't happen every game. But then, like, since we have 3.5 team comps taken care of just from the S tier, the rest of the 5 players are going to be playing one of these down here. And then maybe one person's doing a B tier comp. So we're going to do extra special care to learn the S tiers this video. So we're going to go over all the itemization, augments, positioning, things like that. But the B tiers aren't necessarily bad. There's just a lot better things to go for right now. Like for example, for Mentor Ryze, it used to be a comp where if you build some AP items, you go for it. Or maybe if you have a lot of AD items, you go for Senna, and you kind of flex into it. Now you don't really want to do that because you're just hard forcing Star Guardian in a lot of games, and then if you have AP, you could default into Yuumi. So there are just a bunch of better options out there right now. For the hero augments, we have Drop Blossom Nico, Knuckle Duster Vi, and Ethereal Blade Shen as the top picks. I'm not saying pick it every time it shows up, but if you have like 1 or 2 of the units, go ahead. And then all the other ones are playable except for Zac. But obviously for the other ones, you want to make sure you have either a buildable item for them right away and also a couple copies of that unit. For example, you want at least like a Garen 2-star before you take this and an item to slam right away. But let's get into the comps. Like comps of One Trick, Mighty Mech, and Star Guardian. We're going to go over those 2 first. So starting with Star Guardian, it's best if you do have an emblem, but it's by no means mandatory. And yeah, you just want to itemize Jinx with a Spear of Shojin, because the way she works right now is that there's a power-up that she has which allows her to get a big boom on like her 3rd or 4th cast. And to accelerate that, you want to be playing the Spear of Shojin, because right now she gets that ability without even needing the power-up. So she's just really powerful right now. So play that, give her some attack speed. As per usual, like Rageblade Kraken is a classic build on her, but with the Shojin, she ends up casting really quickly and she ends up doing pretty decently. We'd actually check out the Explorer and check out the data on this little Jinx comp. So 8 to 9 Star Guardian with the Jinx, go to items, and then we see over here, we could toggle to champion specific only. And then yeah, Spear of Shojin is outperforming a lot of the other item builds out there right now. Like obviously you still want the other stuff, but yeah, Spear of Shojin, very nice to have. Kraken's good, and then when you have Kraken, you want a bit of attack speed. Like obviously the other stuff still works, like IE, Giant Slayer. Like if we scroll down a bit, Guardbreaker, Deathblade, Last Whisper, red buff, even blue buff works, right? Because she likes mana a lot. All these items work, but pretty much like after Spear of Shojin, like just build any other 2 items, and you're gonna be good to go. So on everyone else, you want tank items on Poppy. Star Guardian emblem helps a lot, and then you want all your utility items on Xayah. Xayah is the best holder of utility items because she has a small area of effect ability, which makes her apply it very early and very often. You might think that utility items are good on Seraphine because she does a massive area of effect, but she casts so late into the fight that it ends up not mattering that much. So you'd rather have those utility items on something like Xayah. The one annoying thing about Star Guardians is that you need both types of penetration, both magic and physical. So you need like Even Shroud, Ionic Spark, Last Whisper, or Void Staff to get those, and it's just a little difficult to do. That's why some people like to take Sky Piercer on Jinx, but right now I think going more damage on her is going to be a bit better. Gathering Force and Hyperactive are going to be pretty solid on her, and then for Poppy you want Best Defense. Best Defense is by far her best power-up, but the other generic tank power-ups will do. It's not the end of the world if you don't have it, but it is markedly better, so if you do have some spare power-up rerolls, definitely use them. For augments, nothing much has changed there. You want to be running stuff like quality over quantity, anything that gives items. There's like a very good video on how to play exactly Star Guardians in this little gameplay section. You can find all these links and the full write-up on bunnymuffins.lol/meta. But pretty much this comp just plays itself. You want to add in Cassante for the Protector buff. Protector buff is very powerful in this comp because Star Guardians get a lot of shielding, and what the Protector buff does is it gives your team durability while they have a shield active, so you just get free like 5% durability or whatever it is. You may notice Ahri is missing from this screenshot. You obviously play her before you find like the more expensive units, but you do end up taking her out to run this board with Kabuko and the Cassante. Leveling pattern, fast 8 and 9, because you're playing around 4 cost. Poppy 1, Jinx 1, as we said in the intro, are good enough to stabilize in most cases, but obviously you want the 2-star eventually. But any sort of fast 8 strategy, you don't even need econ augments to reach that point, because the comp is cheap in general, because you're running 2 1-cost units and 2 2-cost units, and also like Jinx 1, Poppy 1 is enough to stabilize, especially with combat augments or like item augments, because again, I said before, this comp really does like having a lot of items, lots of people to itemize. But very solid comp, the best one right now in my opinion. So if you ever get a start to play Star Guardians, even if you don't get a start to play Star Guardians, play them anyways if it's not too contested. Like there should be 2 Star Guardian players every single game. So if there's only one other person going for it, it's open for you, even if you don't have the start for it. Next build up we have is going to be Mighty Mech. Mighty Mech's still a good build. They did remove all their augments, which is a little unfortunate, but overall, it's still performing pretty decently. In fact, it's performing very, very well. If we check the stats right now, we type in Mighty Mech, yeah, it's like 3.7 when you get to 7 of them, but obviously that's because it assumes you hit Yone, so make sure you do have a lot of gold, because running only 5 Mighty Mech is pretty bad, but eventually you do hit Yone because Mighty Mech is really good in the early game, so that helps you survive and you don't die out before you hit him. But take him on Carousel if you can. You could use Gangplank to hold his items early on, and then obviously like AP items are good in this comp on Karma. And then after that, you want utility items on your Senna. Like red buff's good because you don't need to use bows anywhere else in the comp. So if you ever get a bow drop, build it. If not, Morello's also works. Since you go for a lot of rods when you build up your Karma, like sometimes you just have extra rods to build a Morello, you just need some form of anti-heal on this comp, and Senna's just one of the best people at applying it. After that, Yone, the melee items work on him. You could put it on Gangplank before then, and then Jarvan, just any of the mana items are really good, like mana tank items, Adaptive Helm, and Protector's Vow. You just need Jarvan to cast as much as possible. And then Ryze, you throw him up in the front. A lot of people ask me, like, why is Ryze in the front line? It's because he doesn't really matter. So you just use him as an extra tank as a strategist, because he gets like a big shield, right? Because strategists get a bigger bonus. So just throw him up front. Like, who cares if he dies? He's not going to be doing any DPS in the back line, especially without items. But because he gets the bonus strategist shield, he's pretty good up in the front. Like, it's the same reason why you put Janna up front, even though she's ranged, because they just do it like that. But this comp works out really well if you have a good source of econ, because again, the comp really spikes once you get Yone, as we saw in, what was it, this little data check over here, right? Mighty Mech is very mighty at 7, but not so much at 5. Strong Mech opener is really good because it helps you win streak pretty easily. Like, it doesn't have to be a full win streak, but winning most of your games is good enough. But yeah, finding Yone is the biggest power spike ever. Do everything in your power to get him. Like, if you see him on Carousel, like, just take him even if he has a bad item, because he's just that important. You don't need him 2-star. Like, obviously, like, in a perfect world, you have him 3-star, right? And obviously you want him 2-star too. But you just need that at least 1-star. So do everything in your power to make that happen. After that, it doesn't matter as much, but yeah. I'm not really too picky with what power up I have on Yone though, because normally in the mid game, I'm using it on Karma and Jarvan. So Karma, you want Mage, Efficient, or Shadow Clone. Jarvan, Mana Rush is really good, and round 2 also very decent. By the way, they did change a lot of the power ups, so I'll be trying to update as many of them as I can. But most of them are like pretty much the same. They made some minor changes. I thought it would be bigger actually, but unless something was super duper duper OP or super duper 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 bad, most things are kind of the same. But yeah, this is pretty much the gist of the comp. You just need the 7 Mighty Mech, splash in Ryze because he's a strategist and mentor, and then play any legendary that you get. You could run Edgelord if you want to. It's not mandatory by any means, but it is pretty nice if you do have a Yone 2-star. So yeah, Karma's going to be the main person you play around, and then after that, it'll be Yone. Next comp up we have is going to be Tiny Team. This obviously only works with the Tiny Team augment, and having a lot of swords helps a ton because itemizing both Jinx and Varus is pretty difficult to do, but your core of Jinx, Poppy, and Xayah is incredibly powerful. It's just kind of another way to play Star Guardian. It's not so much that Tiny Team is OP, it's more so that Star Guardian's OP and Jinx is OP right now because of her bug. So you just play this, play these 3 units, add in a bunch of other snipers and wraiths, and then you're going to be good to go. Because Zac is heavyweight for Poppy, and then Jhin and Varus are both snipers. This build can play a bunch of other different units, but I like having the Janna in there because it helps you get to Protector and Strategist with K'Sante and Jarvan. They're just generically powerful units, and K'Sante is also a Wraith unit, so kind of makes a lot of sense for this build. But for power-ups, like Hyperactive, Sky Piercer are also pretty decent if you don't have any pen. Poppy, any generic tank one will do. Like, you don't have to be too picky on her. Like, honestly, for this comp, Hyperactive's the only one you like truly want to fish for. The rest, it's like, you don't really care that much. But very good comp. You need the augment, fast 8 for this, and then eventually get to 9, get Varus. Like, Varus isn't absolutely mandatory for the comp to work, but he obviously is pretty good. I wouldn't completely grief my game to get him off a Carousel, but if I have all the items I need for the most part and he has like an okay item on him, then yeah, sure, take him. But this comp really stabilizes once you hit level 8, because once you get Poppy 1-star, Jinx 1-star, it just stabilizes the whole team, and then you start winning everything once you get them 2-star. Now onto the A tiers. Like, again, most of your games are going to be playing Star Guardian and Mighty Mech. After that, like in the A tiers, they're still playable, you just need good starts for them. Battle Academia Yuumi, they changed the way Yuumi works in the patch. They did like a mini rework on her, but honestly, for her build, nothing's changed. You still want to go 5 Prodigy, 5 Battle Academia, so if you played this comp in the past, you can still continue playing it. You'll notice that a lot of people are playing around with Bastions, but for Yuumi specifically, like the 6 Bastion build isn't that worth it. You'd rather get the Prodigies in there because like casting is just too important, so you don't want to sacrifice anything for that. Build's going to be the same. You want the Archangels, you want the Jeweled Gauntlet. Jeweled Gauntlet's the most important item. And then third item, it could be Gunblade, it could be like a Giant Slayer. I often build Giant Slayer because when you get a sword in this comp and a bow, you can't really use it to build anything else. Like bow, I guess, builds the Void Staff, and sometimes you could build a red buff if you get a lot of bows. But apart from that, it's like sword's useless. You don't want to build Spear of Shojin or any of the sword items. So Giant Slayer is actually really good on Yuumi, just to use up components. But if I could handpick my items, it'd be something like this with the Hextech Gunblade. I like getting Regenerative on Leona. That's a really fun build to do with the Gunblade, because 5 Prodigy heals up your Leona along with the Gunblade. It just ends up being a ton of healing that adds to the bonus. And then on Leona herself, like tank items are really great. I think Protector's Vow is very underrated on her. It's really good because when she gets her first cast off, she gets a lot tankier for the rest of the fight. So that's why people do that. It's by far one of the best performing items on her. Like, we could check it out in the Explorer tool right now. Add in Leona over here with the 5 Prodigy buff active. So right now, this averages 3.69. If we look at the items, like people, we'll type in Leona here. People really like the Stone Plate, no surprise there. Warmog's no surprise. Spirit Visage, yeah. Steadfast, yeah. But once we get down to Protector's Vow, you'll see that it's like one of the highest performing items on her. It's been like this the entire set, by the way. And sometimes with the niche tank items, they get really good data for some reason. Like Crown Guard is really good on her too, based on the data. But I think this item is more good because you get it off a Carousel in the late game. And if you take it off the late game and put it on Leona, that means you are probably towards the top of the leaderboard. So it introduces some bias into the data. But for Protector's Vow, like this is just like a great item on her because she casts early. You could check in the earliest patches, the data on this, it's like always been good. And the reason why, again, is because she gets her cast off early and gets a ton of resistances because she steals it from the units nearby. So that's why you kind of want it on her. K'Sante, secondary tank. Malzahar, your utility item holder with Morello and Void Staff. It could also be a red buff if you get a ton of bows, but Yuumi, you want Super Genius or Bullet Hell, both are good. Leona, any of the generic tank power-ups. Body changes good. Standalone can be used, not my favorite, but Regenerative is good. Resistant is good. Those would probably be my top picks on her, just any of the ones that makes her super tanky, because Yuumi likes delayed fights, so getting a strong front line is super duper important for her, and you don't run too many tanks in this build. It's really just Leona and K'Sante, because Garen's a 1-cost unit, Rakan's a 2-cost unit, and you're not going really deep into any tank synergy because you're just running 2 Bastion, 2 Protector. So getting her super tanky, super important. Like obviously, like you want your tanks to be tanky, like that goes for every comp, right? But it goes doubly in this comp here. Next build up we have is Kayle Reroll. Kayle is back. I'm not saying she's OP, but she is back. Checking the stats, go to 1 cost, 3-star average placement. She's at a 4.6, but most 1 cost units aren't that great right now, but she is played a ton. Like, she's played as much as the crew unit. So if you get a good game for her, you can definitely make it work. I just wouldn't like hard force this without like a strong Kayle start. One thing to note though is that her item build has changed. So if we take a look at the Explorer tool, and this might be why her average win rate is a bit worse. Like, you're not supposed to build Rageblade on her anymore. You're actually supposed to do this weird build with Jeweled Gauntlet, Giant Slayer, and Red Buff. So she kills things a bit earlier. You don't go for that super stall game anymore, and you go 6 Wraith instead of like 6 tanks. So if we go to the trades, type in 6, like 6 Wraith is the way to play this. You don't want to be doing like the 6 Juggernaut or like 6 Heavyweight build. I'm not saying it's horrible, but the 6 Wraith build is the way to play her right now. So because the build's different, the item build's going to be different. I think I go over this in my TFT fundamentals video. If you have not checked that out already, I would highly recommend doing it, because it explains how itemization changes based on whatever traits you're using, and Wraith is a damage trait. And whenever you build something like Rageblade or Archangels, like Yuumi used Archangels, right? You want strong frontline. This comp does not have strong frontline because you're not running 6 Juggernaut or like 6 Heavyweight or 6 Bastion or something like that. You're running 6 Wraith instead, which is a damage trait. That means you cannot stack your Rageblade up as quickly. So because of that, you need to change up the build, make it a little bit faster. So Red Buff is a way to do that. It gives her a lot of attack speed at the start of the fight. Giant Slayer, more attack speed. Rabadon's Death Cab. It is a viable alternative to Jeweled Gauntlet, but honestly, either or can do. You pretty much just don't want anything that kind of stacks throughout the fight anymore. If we filter this to 3-star, obviously the numbers are going to look a little bit better. Nope, they are still the same. Never mind. That makes me kind of curious as how 2-star Kayle performs. 5.12, yeah. You definitely need to have her 3-star, and you also need to hit level 9. And the only way to do that is to go for a high economy and resource portal. That means getting augments such as Shimmer Scale Essence is really good in this build, because you get both a great tank item that gives gold, and you also get Gambler's Blade, which gives gold from Kayle's attacking a lot. But anything that gives gold helps you out. So definitely pick those up whenever you can from the augments, because again, hitting a 3-star 1 cost and then going to level 9 is pretty difficult to do. So you need to do everything in your power to make that happen. To fill the rest of the comp out, you add an Udyr for Duelist. Nico's good for Protector, she's the most expensive one after Cassante, and then Poppy's good because she's the most expensive heavyweight to complement Zach with. So pretty simple build to fill out the rest of the team comp, nothing too complicated there. And then in the super duper late game, you itemize Varus as your secondary carry. He can use his same regular build such as Shojin, Infinity Edge, plus any third item. If you need another tank, you could go ahead and itemize Cassante. If you have Zach 2 and not Zach 3, then obviously focus on your Cassante as your main tank. Before Kayle, over 9,000 or Double Strike, pretty solid. You could play around with some of the other ones, like perhaps you want to do Golden Edge in the early game. You could still do it. Like if you do have Rageblade, you could still make it work. Final Ascent is possible, but I think these other ones are a bit better. Any tank on Zach and Cassante, don't really have to be too picky with that one. Next build up we have is Soul Fighter, Samira, and Gwen. Soul Fighter is still really good right now because it just uses very solid units, and also the trait you get from Soul Fighter just makes everything really powerful. Samira is still pretty solid in the current meta. The only weird thing about Samira is that she really only works in this build, so she is uncontested, but I wouldn't just blindly go Soul Fighter. Like, I would blindly go Star Guardian, but for Soul Fighter, you need some direction to go into it. So if you get like the Tournament Favorites augment or any Soul Fighter opener, meaning you have like 2-star Callista and like maybe a Nefiri pair, or like 2-star Nefiri and 1 Callista, or maybe you have like a random Lux, Xin Zhao, or Viego drop from one of your early orbs, that's when I would go for the Soul Fighter build. Another thing you need is a bunch of Samira items. So Callista's really good at holding Samira items because getting like a Spear of Shojin works really well on her. IE or Guard Breaker works nicely on Callista too. I know she's Executioner, so if you run her with Executioner, you don't need the Infinity Edge, but it's still good on her because she can still hold it and you don't have to run Executioner in that case, which leaves up an extra slot on your team. For tank items, you want to focus on Set. He really likes the utility items, so Sunfire Cape and Even Shroud works out pretty nicely on him. It's not that he can't use like the super tank items, it's just because the rest of your team, they need very specific items, so you want to put your utility on your tank and not waste an item slot on Gwen or Samira, for example. It's not the end of the world if you do. Like, if you built a Morello, like, obviously Morello is still going to do really, really well on Gwen, but until you get Gwen, Morello, you don't really have that great of a holder for it. Like, Lux has a small AoE, it's not massive by any means, so like, yeah, she could use Morello in the mid game for you, but it's better to just have Sunfire on a tank and have it applied to the frontline units pretty consistently. But as for non-Soul Fighter units, you could use either Yone or Volibear, like both of them work. Volibear is actually doing crazy stuff in the data right now, and it's mainly because of Soul Fighter. If we look at Volibear in the stats, we're gonna see him like in the trait section. I think his best trait is going to be 8 Soul Fighter. Like, it's 3.58 there. It's doing much better than him in Luchadors. Like, Luchadors he's still going to do well in, but obviously if you have 4 Luchador, that assumes that you have a Braum, so the data's a bit skewed. But yeah, him in this build is really nice, but obviously Yone is going to be better in the super late game, so that's why we have Yone there, because Yone provides CC, and he's also just a 5 cost unit. 5 is greater than 4, in case you did not know that. But if that is news to you, let me know down in the comments below. Next comp up, we have is Fast 9 Varus. 4 plus 5 does equal 9, so it makes sense that this is the next comp we're going to cover. You need a lot of gold to do this, like a ton of gold. Even more than I would say the Kayle build. Like, Kayle is pretty expensive, but sometimes you only go Kayle when you start the game with like 4 Kayles, for example. But with this Fast 9 Varus build, like, they nerfed Golden Edge a little bit. It doesn't stack on neutral rounds anymore, so it's a bit more difficult to get those little bits of extra gold, which makes you hit the interest thresholds a little bit faster, which allows you to level up faster, which allows you to get better units odds faster. So that nerf definitely did hurt. They also nerfed Shimmer Scale Essence, which is a great gold generating augment, because the Mogul's Mail now takes a little longer to stack up a lot of gold, but overall it's still a good comp. Fast 9 is still good if you hit. You just need to play it a little bit more sparingly than you did before, because the Gnar doesn't generate as much gold because of the changes to the neutral rounds. But it's still a good comp, and it is one of those like Exodia comps, if you want to call it one of that. And the reason why is because 2-star Varus does clean up games, and as he should, right? He's like the 2-star damage legendary that fits in not really like a 2 specific build, but this is kind of like a build that does need to activate his traits. Like, you're going to be running Wraith and also Sniper, and if you complement him with something like a Twist of Fate, he will clean up. So get 3 items on him, ideally 6 items on both him and Twist of Fate combined, and then 1 random tank. It could be Cassante. Braum is decent as a secondary tank, or like as a guy who holds kind of anything, because Braum can hold both defense and offensive items. I'm actually kind of curious, what items perform better on him? Offense or defense? Because people put both on him. Obviously, Thieves' Gloves is absolutely bonkers on him. Sterix makes a lot of sense. Sterix is both a tank and a bruiser item, if you really think about it. But yeah, he does do a little bit better with the bruiser items compared to the pure tank items. But honestly, just throw 3 items on him if he's your secondary, at least in the front line. Like, he can hold literally any frontline item. For fruits, you want Doom Barrage on Varus. That's going to be the best one to get. And then Cassante, any generic tank one will do. And apart from that, you want to definitely run on high econ, high resource portal, just so you could get to level 9 and get 2-star Varus. Like, the comp doesn't work unless you get 2-star Varus, and yeah, comps that rely on specific 2-star legendaries are a bit inconsistent unless you go for them only when it counts, such as having a ton of gold there. In the early game, you want to play around Gnar and Mundo. Those are going to be your bread and butters in the early game. Mundo holding your tank items. You could run like a bunch of Juggernauts if you really want. Gnar holding both Varus and Twist of Fate items. And yeah, like with the Golden Edge and the Rage Blade, he should be still farming up a ton of gold. Next build up, we have his Crew. Crew is pretty good right now. It used to be taking the backseat for the Jhin builds that people used to play, but right now, like, they buffed Ziggs a little bit, so he's pretty solid, honestly. Like, Ziggs 3, you get him pretty much all the time, and he's pretty decent. Like, you itemize both him and Sivir. Malphite as your main tank. Standalone is going to be the best power-up for Malphite because it just gives him so much health. And then in the late game, you want to be itemizing your Twist of Fate. Twist of Fate is really good. 1-star Twist of Fate does do a ton of damage. I'd probably move the items over from Sivir to Twist of Fate. Sky Piercer is really good in this build. You could use it on either Ziggs or Sivir because you do both magic and physical damage. So having a effect like Sky Piercer is really, really beneficial for this comp. But later on, you might want to swap the power up onto Ziggs, because early game you do it on Sivir, later parts you do it on Ziggs. So Double Strike, Keen Eye, Sky Piercer, all pretty usable on him. The ones not mentioned here, you could use a bunch of them too. I just show a few of them to give you some inspiration. And then you round out your team with a bunch of strategists. It's going to be Ryze, Jarvan, and Janna. This time you leave Ryze in the backline because you want stone plate value on your Malphite, so you don't want to put him too far up. If not, people aggro onto whoever's on the side here instead of all on Malphite. So that's kind of why you're positioned in this way. But very easy build to play. If you are like below diamond, definitely spam Crew, because if you're uncontested, it's really easy to hit everything, and you pretty much always do. And when you do, you get like a free top 4, and if you get a really lucky game, you could go for like a second or even a first. Next build up we have is going to be Bastion Xayah reroll. This is going to be one of the newer comps. It's good if you have tiny team because you're running 3-star Guardian, but it's playable without it. You just go for Shen 3-star, Xayah 3-star. Ironically enough, the Xayah reroll builds, they do not work with fan service anymore. So instead, you're just running Xayah with Rageblade and Kraken Slayer and any third item, and then running 6 Bastion with her, because Xayah Rakan just doesn't work anymore. They changed the comp up too much. So this version is just going to be a lot better. Also, there are a lot of Star Guardian players, so it's kind of hard to hit her 3-star sometimes, but sometimes you get it. The only thing you need in this build is best in slot Xayah. That's going to be, again, the Rageblade and Kraken Slayer. And then for Shen, just put an even shroud on him plus any 2 tank items. Like Sunfire Cape is good because he's just a good applier of it because he lives a long time. But if you have like a red buff or Morello, you could drop it on your Jinx. She applies it pretty decently from the back line. After that, run as many Bastions as you can. Doesn't matter who. And obviously you don't need to run an extra edgelord because Shen is already one of them. Bastions are very hot right now. They're like the new tank frontline that people play around with. We're going to go over one of the other B tier comps which runs Bastion, because it's, yeah, whenever they change tank traits, like one of them outshines the other. Last patch it was heavyweights, the patches before it was Juggernaut, now it's Bastions. Bastions are what's in right now. But very simple comp to play, just do a 2-cost reroll, put all the Bastions into your team planner and Jinx and Xayah, and that's all you need to do. If you have extra units to play, just play something like a Zyra. You don't need to complicate it too much there. Next build up we have are the B tiers. Okay, so Mentor Executioner, it's played the same as before, just not as good anymore. They changed Icebender up a bit too, but there's just no reason to go into this comp unless like unless you build items already for Ryze, like AP items, and like every AP comp is contested except for this one. That's the only time I would go for this. Apart from that, like I just go Yuumi or the Karma build, but yeah, it's still playable. I'm not saying it's bad. Like B tier doesn't mean bad. B tier just means you play it more sparingly. S tier means like you'll have people playing it every game. A tier normally means like if you have a spot for it, like go for it and you're gonna be happy. But B tier, it's like you need a super spot for it, or you're like, oh, everything's contested, let me go for this. But B tiers are not something you could just hard force every game and expect good results. Like you're free to do it. It's a free country or free world after all, but just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Let's go over the Bastion build though. We have Bastion Yasuo, because this is the new comp of the week. This is going to revolve around 6 Bastion, 4 Edgelord. It's a little weird because, yeah, Yasuo is really strong with the Bastion emblem. We could do a little data check right now. Let's look at Yasuo. Obviously, as a 3-star, he's going to be very good because 3-cost 3-stars just always average like 3.75 or better if the comp is any bit decent. But lo and behold, we have this Bastion emblem bumping it up to 3.37. So it is very, very good. But it's very situational because you need 3-cost 3-star and you need an emblem. That's very hard to do. And I think they made Bastion emblem much harder to get because I don't think you could get it from augments anymore. So you have to get it from building it the old-fashioned way. And I'm going to be honest, before this patch, I never built this manually. So in case you didn't know, this builds from Pan and the Chain Vest, because I know like 90% of you have not built this doing it the old-fashioned way. So just to remind you, it's with a Pan and Chain Vest, and then you get a very strong team. Because you play a bunch of edgelords, Shen is both a Bastion and an edgelord, and obviously 6 Bastion for frontline, and Yasuo is going to be doing a lot of carrying. This is essentially giving him like a Titan's Resolve, but it gives him all the resistances right away. They actually changed Titan's Resolve. It does not give resistances anymore, so I'm kind of comparing it to the older one. But he just gets really tanky, he still deals enough damage, and it's enough to make him really pop off. But yeah, Bastion or range artifact Yasuo, that's another way to make this work. If we look at his items, switch to artifacts, yeah, we're going to see Sniper's Focus. Holy cow, I knew it was good, I didn't know it was this good. 2.76, like come on. You don't even need the Bastion emblem anymore if you do that. Rapid Fire Cannon, still decent. Fishbone, still decent. All the artifacts are decent. They're not like super crazy, apart from Sniper's Focus and Rapid Fire, but yeah, they all work, right? But for Yasuo, Hemorrhage is pretty good, but there are other ones that are playable in the mid game. You don't have to fish too hard for it right away. You could kind of fix it as the game goes on. For Swain, just any generic tank will do, and that's going to be the comp. Also, like, Radiants are also really good when you play this, because whenever you play like 3-star 3-cost, you only really care about 2 units. In this case, it's going to be Swain and Yasuo. So that's why concentrating power on a unit is very, very effective. But yeah, only play this if you have Bastion Emblem or a range artifact on Yasuo, because if not, he just dies. So you kind of need it to make him work. Hemorrhage is by far the best. And the reason why is because he splits his damage, so you want the bleed damage to go through. But again, in the early game, you don't need to fish for it too hard quite yet. You can kind of save them to get it when you want. You can kind of save it to get it when you can. Luckily, the odds on it are pretty decent. It's one of his most common ones, but it might take a couple tries before you get that exact one. But yeah, that's going to be the patch. Like, this comp is pretty fun to play, and it is new, so if you are a sucker for new comps, that's going to be the one to go for. But play Star Guardian as much as you can. I promise you, you will not regret it. Shodan on Jinx, that's all you need, and you stabilize so hard at Jinx 1 and Poppy 1. Whenever there's a comp that does that, where you stabilize really hard on the 1-star 4-cost, like, you just have to play it very often. It is what it is. Again, they confirmed no B patch unless something crazy happens. And oh yeah, do not play Ashe. She's the worst unit in the game. She's averaging like a 5.0 or something like that as a 4-cost unit. That's embarrassing, right? Yeah, she's by far the worst one. Whenever you're a 4-cost unit, you don't want to be averaging below like 4.4 or something like that, like 4.36 maybe, as it's shown here. But like, yeah, 5.04 or whatever. Pretty disgusting stuff. But yeah, Star Guardian as much as you can. If not, check if people are going Mech, and then go Mech if no one is. And then after that, see if you have a good start for any of the A tiers or an insane start for one of the B tiers. That's going to be the best way to approach this patch. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below or in my Discord channel. But for full information, head on over to bunnymuffins.lol/meta, share the video with a friend, and if you want to do some data checking, head on over to teamfight.lol. You could either do individual champions, items, Explorer, anything like that. Explorer probably going to be the best way to get like very in-depth looks at certain things. But that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all next time.